Virginia Department of Corrections, Red Onion State Prison. To accept this call, press 0.
This is Randall Via. I'm currently serving 1,214 years for capital murder in Red Onion State Prison in the state of Virginia in the USA. This is my podcast, Red Onion Rant. I hope you enjoy listening to it. Last episode, I talked about my dad. So this episode, I'm going to talk about my mom. My mom's a complicated creature. You know, she means very, very well, but she was not a good mother at all. I'm still in touch with my mom more so than I am with my dad. My dad, you know, I just started kind of talking to him a little bit, but I've been talking to my mom for years. I usually call her, you know, once every couple of months or so. And we've discussed our relationship. We've discussed my childhood, and we've overcome a lot of stuff. You know, said what needed to be said, and, you know, we made the choice to forgive one another and to start trying to build a relationship. But it was not good as a child. My mom grew up the second oldest of, of 6 children, and she dropped out of school, and I believe she dropped out of school in the 8th or 9th grade, and she got a little job for a little bit, and then she met my dad, and of course got pregnant, got married, and they lived together, but neither my mom nor my dad at that time had enough understanding of the world to truly know what they was doing. They got caught up in that partying lifestyle, and they were cheating on one another left and right. I mean, I don't even understand what the whole point of them being in a relationship with one another was. You know, I don't know, man. For some reason, talking about my mom is a whole lot harder to talk about than it was my dad. I guess I love my mom, I do, but she just freaking sucked at being a mother. I mean, she had no mothering instincts at all for me, my brother Linwood, and my brother Jason. You know, I don't remember a lot of hugs, you know, from my mom. I mean, every now and then. I mean, she was, to be honest, I kind of remember her more as a standoffish person. You know, the only things that I really, truly, associate with my mom from childhood is her smoking cigarettes constantly. She always had a cigarette in her mouth, and she loved Pepsi. She literally loved Pepsi. I remember I would go to sleep, you know, at normal time around 9 o'clock or whatnot for a kid, and, you know, I would wake up a couple hours later, and I would be thirsty, and everybody would be in the bed, and we lived in this single wide trailer, and their mom and dad's bedroom was all the way in the back, and then you had a little small bathroom, and then you had mine and my 2 brothers' bedroom. We shared a bunk bed, and then you had the kitchen, and then you had the living room, all in one line. And so I would go into the refrigerator, and I would stick my finger in that little rubber seal, and I would peel it, and I would slide my finger back, and I would open it up, just, you know, because when you open a refrigerator, it's got that little sound to it if you just open it up regularly. And I knew that if I did that, she would hear it. So I would slick my finger down, and I would be so slick, and then I would open the Pepsi up real slow, just 'cause I don't want that sound. I don't want nothing alerting her, because I want that Pepsi. And I'll start drinking. As soon as I start drinking it, it's like that woman had a 6th freaking sense for her Pepsi. She would scream at me, "Randy, put my Pepsi down." And I would drink a couple more real quick, and I'd put it in there, throw it, and I would run into bed again. That's what I remember my mom for. She would smoke like a freaking chimney, and she loved her Pepsi. she didn't have an easy life. My mom was brutalized numerous times. She was taken advantage of on I don't know how many occasions. Um, I remember when I was 10 years old, two things really stand out to me when it comes to my mom. The first one is she was brutally raped. A guy came to her trailer one day. This is after my mom and dad had split up and got a divorce. And he dragged my mom into the bedroom, and I fought him. I was punching and kicking, screaming, biting. I mean, I did everything I could to stop my mom from being hurt. And I fought. This is a grown ass man. He was punching me, and I still kept fighting until he picked me up and he spun in a circle and he threw me against a wall and just slammed me up against a wall. And I fell down the wall to the floor, and I couldn't move after that. I laid there. I was in too much pain to move. And he not only raped my mom, but he sodomized her. And I tried to crawl. I couldn't do it. And I had to sit there on the floor and just watch my mom go through that. With her, just to deal with that. And then after he left, my mom, she just kind of picked herself up, got dressed, and she took care of me, and she took me in and made something to eat for me, and I can't remember what it was that I ate or whatnot, but I know she did give me some of her Pepsi. And my mom wasn't known for sharing Pepsi with any damn body. And that's what she did for me, just to kind of help me. She just ignored what was done to her. She didn't call the cops. She didn't call nobody. And a couple months went by. She did the best she could for us. But the fact of the matter is, she was a child her damn self. And I remember one day, she was in the living room and she just swallowed a whole bunch of pills. And she started to pass out. She started to go in a coma, and die from her suicide attempt. And I ran to the door, and I opened the door, and I started screaming for my grandma and anybody, because my grandma lived like maybe 300 yards away from where we was living. And I screamed for help, and I ran back into the kitchen, and I grabbed a Pepsi, and I ran and I poured it over her face just to try to wake her up. Just, 'cause that's what you do when somebody's asleep. You pour water on them, you try to wake them up, and I started slapping her. And, she was kind of, coming in and out, just real groggy, just like if I would have stopped for a moment, she would have slipped into a coma and she wouldn't have woke up from her suicide attempt. And I did that for a couple of minutes until my grandma and my Uncle William could make it up to the trailer where we was at, and which they did, because they, thank God they heard me screaming. And my grandma saw what was happening. I told her about the pills, and she's like, keep slapping her. So I kept slapping my mom in the face. And my grandma went to the refrigerator, and she took like a bunch of mustard and ketchup and just all kinds of different things and just mixed it together. And she went over and she kind of like moved me out the way, and she put the glass of the stuff to my mom's mouth, and she pinched her nose and poured it in her mouth and kind of held it until she had to swallow it. And it made my mom throw up. And, that's how, me and my grandma actually saved my mom's life from a suicide attempt. And that's something that it still sticks with me. Because the fact of the matter is, I'm a mama's boy. Even though me and my mom don't have the best relationship in the world, I still consider myself a mama's boy. Even though, my mom allowed all of the abuse, she never called the cops on my dad for what he did to me and my brothers and everything. And She wasn't overly affectionate. She just wasn't a good mom. She's still my mom. Like, if somebody walked up to me right now and, cussed my mom out, I'd slap them in the damn face. Like, no. You can't say nothing bad about my mom because she's my mom. Like I said, there's so many complicated feelings between me and my mom that it's hard to talk about, And like one of the things that, and I have discussed this with my mom, is, shortly after that, my brother Jason got to fighting with this other kid at school. And so, mom got called into the principal's office, and the other kid, his like step uncle, got called into the office because his mom and dad actually couldn't make it for whatever reason. So the step uncle stepped in and went there, and him and my mom met, and they wound up talking, and they wound up dating. And it wasn't long after that that we moved in with Michael. And Michael, he was married to another woman that they had gotten divorced, but they had a son together. And my mom treated that boy like he was a freaking Prince of England. She did everything. She was a phenomenal mother to him. And it bothered me and Jason because by this time, Linwood was no longer living with us. Linwood was somewhere else. And me and Jason were living with Mom and Michael. And the way she treated him, that still hurts to this day because she never, ever, not once treated me and Jason anywhere, or Linwood, when we was all together. It wasn't even close. It just, I don't know, man. I still to this day don't know why she did that, And the thing is, my dad did the same thing with his girlfriend's children. There were times like I would see my dad's girlfriend's children go into the refrigerator and get something to eat when it wasn't dinner time or lunchtime. And there were times I was like, okay, well, I would go over there and I would just fix me just a slice of bread, one slice of bologna, a little bit of mayonnaise, a little bit of pepper, and a slice of bread, and I would eat it. And if my dad found out, he'd beat the hell out of me for going in the refrigerator. But yet her kids could do the same thing. Little Michael, that boy could get away with murder. I think he was, up until the time he was like maybe 8 or 9 years old, my mom used to wipe his ass every time. Like, I just don't get it. Talking about my mom is difficult for me, as you can obviously tell by this recording. But thankfully, I talk to my mom now. My mom has apologized to me, and she's, asked me to forgive her for the way she was. She was a child trying to raise children, just trying to do the best she can. And as I said, that wasn't the only time that she was raped. My mom has been raped multiple times. My mom has been abused and beaten. She has suffered a lot. When she did the best she could, and I'm grateful for that. At least I did get a little bit from my mom. And it was more than I got from most people. And now she's doing okay. She's got health issues. Her and Big Michael are still together. They've been together forever, it seems like. They got a bunch of animals now that, is keeping her happy and keeping her busy. But that's pretty much it for my mom. I really don't know what else to say. I'm sorry that this is so disjointed, that this episode is kind of back and forth, but it was a tough one for me, and I hope y'all understand.
You have 1 minute remaining.
Give your moms a hug. Even if she's not the best mom in the world, she's the only one you have. She's the only one you'll ever have. If you can, make amends. Do what you can to forgive and forget, and just, start over anew. I know there's some cases where you can't do that, but, that's up to you. But life is too damn short to hang on to all the anger and the pain and the hurt from childhood. You got to throw them shackles away someday. Don't allow yourself to be a slave to negative emotions and past experiences, because your future has no bearing on your past. Your future is whatever you want it to be. Now, you're going to have to put some hard work towards it. You're going to have to give everything you have to get it. But you got to throw away the past, because the past, all that anger and all that hurt will lead you sitting in here talking on the phone beside me, because it will lead you down a path you don't want to go if you don't deal with it. But that's just my 2 cents worth. This has been Red Onion Randy. For those of you who listen to me on Apple Podcasts, I would appreciate it if you would review me and rate me, preferably 5 stars, but I'll take whatever you can give me. Don't forget to check out my website, redonionrandy.com. Take care and stay safe.
Thank you for using GTL.